Hello, and welcome to A Film a Day, award season 2023, with me, Jordan Woodley. In some regards, I don't really know what to make of the escalating love behind Top Gun Maverick. I want to make it very clear, I think it's an excellent film. I really enjoyed seeing it in the cinema. And I left the cinema thinking, this is a really good film, I hope it does really well. I saw it do exceptionally well, more and more and more, to the point that it became the highest grossing film of 2022. And even that was a remarkable accolade. And then it started to get the awards buzz, and now it's nominated for Best Picture. And none of those things are wrong, because I do think it is an excellent film. And I do think it really shakes up the I don't even want to call it action movie genre, because it's not an action movie. It's I suppose if you wanted to put it, it is a non-war war drama. It does shake things up, and it takes something from the 80s and revitalizes it and brings us something that is a non-franchise to some degree picture. And yet, I am still astounded by exactly how well it's doing in the box, how well it's done in the box office, how well it's doing in the award season, and how beloved it is. Because I can't work out what the magic sauce is, I suppose. Because the original Top Gun is a 80s classic. It is cheesy. It splits people. I like it, but I don't think it's an amazing film, nor do I think it's a terrible film. I think it has things in it that are really good, things in it that age less well. And so to pick that up and to make this almost retelling of it, or this reimagining, to take the characters and continue their story, and yet make this very powerful action film, or this jet film, that really, there is something full throttle about it. And I suppose I've had lots of conversations about what makes an action film appealing, and why, to some degree, something like the MCU is struggling as we get further through, or the DCEU, or Star Wars, or even things like John Wick, is because as the thing that makes action movies really connect to people is that physical, visceral experience of, this is something we could be living through ourselves, experiencing ourselves. And even though entirely implausibly, but there is that, it's the same relationship between practical effects and digital effects, where ultimately we're still at a point where people feel a practical effect, they feel the weight of it, they feel the impact of it, even though it is just on a screen, as opposed to something like CGI, where it's still, even the best CGI still has that uncanny valley and has that disconnect. There just isn't that sense that it feels grounded. Avatar: Way of Water aside, as I mentioned in that video. And so I think there is something that people have really reconnected, that I think they lost in the last couple of years because of the rise of franchise films, and even ones that tried to be a bit more traditional action, like Fast and Furious, veer into the world of the implausible. Whereas Top Gun Maverick puts you in the throttle, puts you into that seat of real feeling what it's like to be in a jet. I will personally say an extra thing that really only applies to my experience, which is that I saw this in 4DX. Admittedly, maybe that was my mistake at the time. I think I was gambling on the fact that there was not the assurance that this was going to be a good film, and it seemed like the appropriate film to view in 4DX. And it really does enhance the experience. It really is everything that 4DX is, which is like the roller coaster cinema experience. The problem with 4DX is that bad films can be made good films can be made great, and great films can be, well, they can't really be enhanced beyond that. And so you leave with a better experience from the 4DX than you might have had from a more traditional theatrical viewing. And so maybe that's the thing about Top Gun Maverick that I have, where I saw it in that with that perspective. That being said, I do appreciate it. Tom Cruise is still doing that thing that he wants to demonstrate the power of the action star, the power of the movie star, when that thing is slowly falling away. The idea that you can have a film like Top Gun Maverick, like the Mission Impossible franchise, which still is weighed on physical action, on stunts. He clearly wants to demonstrate that. You have a powerhouse like Miles Teller, who is a phenomenal performer, who is a proper high caliber actor. And you just have subtle moments like the Val Kilmer cameo, which is, again, feeding back to a love of cinema that goes back to the 80s, which was cheesy and was camp, but people loved it. And I think that's clearly, these elements together brought us Top Gun Maverick and made it appealing in a way that I honestly think no one expected, because no one could possibly have expected it to be as successful as it is. There is a legitimate chance it might win Best Picture. I'm not entirely counting it out. I have 3 pictures in my mind that could win Best Picture, and at this stage, this is one of them. It's not a bad thing. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, but then I'm not averse to it either. I'm really intrigued to see how it will do in the actual awards and whether it will start sweeping some. It might not, but even seeing it get the nominations is it's quite the novelty. It's quite the shock, and it really shows what the Academy is willing to bring in and how genre pictures do have a place in the awards. Anyway, thank you for joining me. See you next time.